talk about in this video, creating the perfect villain for your book series. Hello everyone, my name is Antonio, and we want to talk about something that we are going through as a process in our current situation, and that's writing our, publishing our very first book. And we are making videos about, some of our character introduction videos, and we're making videos about character development, but we want to talk about what makes a good villain. Now, most of the research I've been going through, a lot of writers has been saying that your villain needs to be stronger than the protagonist of your story. And I do agree with that mostly, but do the villain need to be stronger in the sense in power, or is this stronger in the ability of intellect? For example, let's take the Joker. Even though Batman didn't have any extra powers in the DC universe, one of his greatest foes was the Joker, who himself didn't have any powers. The Joker had a power in the sense of his intellect. He was the person that can beat Batman, who by nature, by training, was a ninja and one of the smartest characters in the DC universe. But the Joker could beat him from every turn that Batman makes. So we want to talk about some of the villains that we are talking about in our Kush book series. And we call these villains the Thunderclouds. Now, for example, if you know anything and been following our videos, you will know that Tiggio, which is the main setting of the book series, we call that actually the Lightning Village. So, of course, a lot of these characters will have some sort of lightning abilities. Now, they're not to say that every person that live in Tiggio will have lightning abilities, because from the very first setting, when we introduce our book, you will see that Tiggio was actually a melting pot, and that some of the characters in our book series will have different types of abilities, but a lot of the characters will have lightning abilities. So we want to talk about one of our characters, and we call this character Arnold. Now, Arnold is a former member of Tiggio, but because he craved power, he wanted the position of the Rao Mono, and the Rao Mono is actually, the leader of Tiggio, when Rao Mono simply means lightning king. So it was a great deal of civil war that took place in Tiggio, and Arnold was at the center of this civil war. Now, let's talk about what makes a good villain. A lot of times, the villain of the story have some kind of connection to the protagonist or to the lead people of that book series. And in Arnold's case, his connection was he lived and he served the people of Tiggio. He obeyed the orders of the Rao Mono until, like we say in the South, it felt like he got too big for his britches. So Arnold, what he did, he concocted a scheme, and he got some people, people that was unrest about the current state of Tiggio. And it was one of those scenes where they felt like they want to control the world. For example, they want to control and gain control of Tiggio. But the love that the people had for Tiggio, for some, was greater than the love that they had for Arnold and some of the other people that caused this great deal civil war of Tiggio. So let's dial back some. Like I said, what makes a great villain? Is a great villain the strongest person in the land? Not always. Like I said, the Joker had, his strength was not, being able to move a mountain or lift a locomotive. His strength was to drive the Batman crazy. Or you could take the strongest being, and that's what he says, and that's the Incredible Hulk. One of his number one villains was the leader. And the leader didn't have a lot of strength, but he had the know-how in controlling the Abomination and some of the other people that want to serve the leader, because the leader had the mastermind to control. So in the sense, Arnold was strong, but Arnold was stronger, and he had the intellect to get people to follow him to overthrow the Romano and some of the people of the land of Tiggio. So think about it. If you are the leader of a nation, a lot of times in comic book scenes or graphic novels, a lot of times, not every time, you have some kind of ability. So for Arnold had an ability which is fire. And what you may know is on the scale, fire abilities trumps lightning abilities. So he had an ability to trump a lot of the fighters in the land of Tiggio. But the problem was he was outmatched in the people that loved that land. So why did he do it anyways? Was it for the thrill? Or was it for that he really felt that his intellect and his strength can take over the people of Tiggio? I just think that he did it like most villains or most criminals. They don't think things through. Because a lot of people died as a result of his, a will to overthrow. A lot of people got banished from the land of Tiggio because of his will to overthrow. And a lot of people were captured and was never the same. So creating the villain in your book may be different. There are tons of different type of roles that villains play. Take Frieza in the Dragon Ball Z series. When they introduced Frieza into Dragon Ball Z, to me, I thought that was one of the most cunning villains that you can ever introduce into a manga / anime. Frieza had no motive because he was already the strongest in his universe. He already had the fighters, which is the Saiyans, to fight under him. But what was his motive? In Frieza's case, his motive was actually fear. Even though he was strong, his fear was he thought that there was going to be one to rise above the ranks of the Saiyans and become a Super Saiyan. And actually that never happened because if you follow the story of Dragon Ball Z, because of that fear, he destroyed a whole planet. But the problem was there was already Saiyans that was cast out or, that was able to escape that explosion. It doesn't matter how they did it, they was able to do it. And those people were able to become a Super Saiyan at another time. But even though your character may be the strongest in the universe, which Frieza was one of the strongest characters in the Dragon Ball Z series, it was his strength. I mean, his fear was his weakness, even though he was stronger than most. So, drafting your villain, it needs to pertain to your book. But like I said before, most villains have some attachment to the person that they want to conquer, whether it may be that person is stronger than them or somebody possess something that villain won't. It may be in the case of fear, like I said in Frieza case, or maybe, for example, Orochimaru in the Naruto series, where Orochimaru was one of the strongest in the Hidden Leaf because he was one of the Sanin. But his take was he craved power. It was a position that he wanted, which is Hokage. He didn't get that position. It ends up being Naruto's dad who, received the position, and that's when he went rogue. And when he went rogue, his whole motion was to come back and destroy the very land that he served. So, of course, I'm not going to give my character Arnold, all of the characteristics that I'm describing, but it is a similarity there. It was a process of craving power. And it's something that Arnold didn't have. He didn't have the ability to lead. It's like you could be the strongest in the world, but you might not have one follower. It may be the weakest in the world, but they have the greatest intellect. And you have tons of followers. So it just all depends on how you write your book, the intellect that you give your character, because some characters don't have the intellect. Take, Hulk, when he's in his rage form. He fights Bruce Banner to gain any types of intellect. So yes, he has the ability to smash anything he wants, but he doesn't have the ability to lead. As a matter of fact, because he's too strong, people don't even want to be around him. So the Hulk was never classified as a villain in the sense, but if you destroying everything in your sight, people don't want to be around you. So your strength can become your greatest downfall also. So I don't want to make this a long drawn out video. I do want to say, please like, subscribe, and comment if you have any comments that you want to say about this video. We do feel that, there are tons and tons of villains out there that have stood the test of time, and each villain has played a different role. As far as you got villains like the Red Skull, who want to take over and be the strongest in the world. But his strength is vain, because if you are not part of Hydra, then you are not part of the alliance of, the Red Skull. Like I said again, you have Frieza. His greatest strength was he was strong, but he also had a weakness, and it was fear. So, once again, we don't want to make this a long drawn out video. There will be other videos coming from Team Tiggio. If you got any comments, please comment below about another video that you'll be interested in looking at. Once again, we will see you next time.